So you've probably heard of the flat white, the latte, cappuccino, and Americano. If you're a barista, these are some of the most common coffees that you're going to be making day in, day out. And if you're a new barista, these are the drinks that you're going to get up to speed with really quickly. But occasionally someone is going to come into your cafe or your coffee shop and ask for a coffee that you've never heard of before, one that's not on your menu and you might not know how to make. This is something that will happen to you eventually if you're working as a barista. So knowing how to make a wide range of coffees, even the ones that aren't on your menu, is a really great skill to have to show that you are a knowledgeable barista, and it's a great way of giving each customer a unique and personalized experience. So these are 6 secret menu coffee drinks that you should know as a barista how to make. If there are any that we don't talk about today that you think are worth people knowing, leave them in the comments. So first up, we have a drink called a traditional macchiato. This is a small coffee that's been marked with a small amount of milk. So we're going to be using our standard espresso cup, pouring a double shot of espresso on top, and then a tiny amount of steamed milk layered on top of the crema. So there we've got our double shot of espresso. We're going to take the smallest jug that you can find, and we're going to steam just a very small amount of milk just to get a really nice, thick, dense milk foam. And you want to spend most of this time adding air into the milk. Grab yourself a teaspoon, scoop up some of that thick milk foam, and just lay 2 or 3 spoonfuls of thick foam on top of your crema. And there we have a delicious, small, strong, traditional Italian macchiato. Next up, we have a drink called a Cortado. And this is going to be in a small 4-ounce glass or a cup. The key element of a Cortado is that we're going to have equal parts espresso and milk. So again, we're going in with a double espresso. A Cortado is essentially a small flat white with the same amount of espresso. So it's a little bit less milk, so a little bit stronger. That coffee flavor comes through a little bit more so than a flat white. So we're going in with a double espresso. And once again, I'm going to grab a small jug and put some whole milk in there, or your milk of choice. And when we steam the milk, we're going for a very similar texture to that of a flat white. Nice and thin, so we can have a little bit of latte art on top. Once you've steamed your milk, just layer that over the top of your double espresso, just like you would a flat white or a latte. A little bit of latte art if you can. And there you have a delicious small Cortado, great little milk drink to let that coffee flavor really come through. So next up we have a Piccolo Latte, or sometimes just called a Piccolo. This is essentially a small latte. It's one size up from a Cortado, so anywhere between 6 and 8 ounces is fantastic. The main difference between this and a flat white is that a Piccolo is just going to use a single shot of espresso. So this is going to be great for people that want a little bit less of an intense coffee flavor, but they still want to enjoy a smaller drink. So same again, we're going to start off with a double espresso, but then when we pull the espresso, we're going to split the shot, half into your glass and half into a separate shot glass or espresso cup. And you can serve that separately if you have another order, or you can just enjoy it yourself. Once we've got our coffee, grab a small jug, steam it to the same consistency as a latte. So we've just got our single shot of espresso. I'm going to layer our milk on top. And there we have a Piccolo Latte. Same sort of flavor intensity as a regular latte, just a smaller drink to enjoy. So next we've got a really fun drink called a dirty chai, or a dirty chai latte. Essentially, this is a chai latte with an added single shot of espresso. So first up, we're going to prepare our chai flavor. And we're using a chai powder here from the Drink Me Chai range. So we're just going to add 1 scoop of that into our cup. And normally when we make a chai latte, we would then dissolve that powder with a small amount of hot water. Instead, for a dirty chai, we're going to dissolve it using a single shot of espresso. Once you've pulled your espresso, then grab yourself a little whisk or a stir stick and incorporate that powder into the espresso. And you should be making a really nice thick paste, and it should smell very intense and flavorful. Once that is nicely combined, if you feel like it looks a bit thick, you can always top it up with a tiny splash of hot water. And then we're going to use that as our base and pour our latte art on top. And then you can pour your latte art on top. And there you have your dirty chai. And if you like, you can also grab a little pinch of cinnamon powder and just sprinkle that over the top, just to give it a really nice finish and aroma. And that is a really nice, complex, very flavorful, warming, sort of festive in a way, delicious dirty chai. The next drink we're going to make is called a ristretto, which is a slightly different style of preparing your coffee. So whereas an espresso is a very small and strong drink, usually at a ratio of something like 18 grams of coffee to 36 grams of liquid espresso in the cup, a ristretto is an even shorter and stronger coffee. So we're going to be using the same amount of coffee grounds, 18 grams, but we're going to be pulling less water through. So we're going to aim for something like 26 to 28 grams of espresso. Ristrettos work really well with a dark roasted coffee, as it will avoid a lot of the bitterness that you tend to get in a lot of those dark roasted espressos. So the key thing with a ristretto is that we need to grind quite a little bit finer than we would for a standard double espresso. And that is so that we can still provide enough resistance to that water to get a well-balanced, delicious cup of coffee. One thing that you will definitely need when trying to brew a ristretto is a scale. You're going to place this underneath your cup and your group head. And we're going to stop the shot once we get to 28 grams. So place your cup, hit tare, and start brewing. And what you should see is a really thick, slow to pour, dense shot of espresso. So you're going to stop that shot when it gets to 26 to 28, and you want to aim for somewhere in between 26 and 28 seconds. So there we've got our very short, intense, strong double ristretto that uses the same amount of ground coffee as your double espresso, but compacted into a smaller amount of liquid. Absolutely delicious with a dark or even medium roasted coffee. So the last drink today is a Babyccino. Now this is technically not a coffee drink, but it's a great option to have up your sleeve behind the bar at a cafe. A lot of the time baristas will serve these for free with a little bit of leftover milk and maybe even some hot chocolate powder, just to entertain any children that might be in the cafe. So you can serve these in your standard double espresso cups, or maybe something the next size up, like a 4-ounce Cortado or small flat white sized cup. But if you're serving these to young children, you might want to be a little bit extra careful, so you can use a smaller 4-ounce takeaway cup, absolutely no problem. So we're going to grab a small milk jug and fill that up sort of halfway with your milk. And we're going to go for a nice thick, dense milk foam. And you can even use some leftover milk if you've made their parent a drink, for example. Pour the milk gently into the cup. And then you might want to chat with the parent before doing this, but it's always nice to serve with a little sprinkle of hot chocolate powder over the top. And then serve it with a teaspoon, and it gives them something to stir and play around with and keeps them entertained while their parents are having a nice time in your cafe. So those were 6 secret menu coffee drinks that you should know how to make, regardless of whether they're on your menu or not. If there were any that we didn't cover and you think more people need to know about, then leave them in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.